The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it, Monday editions here at Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager at Addy's today for the College World Series Championship Game 3, A&M, Tennessee. Tennessee, A&M, depending on who's sitting near us here at Addy's. But we are in the Aggie section, but plenty of burnt orange. Check that. That's the wrong take. I'm going to get things thrown at me that are sharp. The Tennessee Rocky Top Orange is alive and well and well represented, along with that maroon. And all sorts of Tennessee fans love them some Joba. So do the A&M fans, as shockingly enough, with a heat index of 111, folks are pounding beers and making their way to the bathroom. And they are giving the old fist pump, high five to Joba Chamberlain. He's on the road with us again today. Elijah Herbel, sadly, back in studio. But we're thankful somebody is back in studio making sure we're on. Great to be with you down here at Addy's North 10th. If you're making your way down or you just want to watch a great night of sports with Game 3 of the College World Series between Tennessee and A&M, or Game 7 Oilers-Panthers, Addy's is your spot. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240 or 800-825-5865. Can find us in the stream with Hail Varsity YouTube. Like and subscribe there. As always, pretty painless to watch the show that way or across the Hail Varsity Radio Network. Find us on Twitter as well at HVarsity Radio. Give that a follow. AM 590, Omaha's ESPN, can watch the show on their Twitter handle, KFOR, Facebook, and Twitter out of Lincoln. And Central Nebraska's Superstation, Kearney, Hastings, Grand Island, ESPN 1460, 1550. Your friends in Columbus, News Talk 900 Columbus. Guys, how are we feeling? How was the weekend? Are you geared up for what could be a legendary night of baseball here in Omaha? Charles Schwab Field will have all sorts of maroon, all sorts of orange, and all sorts of select Nebraska gear in attendance. You doing good, Elijah?
Yeah, the slow pitch softball team got a win on a Sunday afternoon, which is always big. We haven't had the year that we thought. We have some former Division I talent on the squad, and hasn't always shown every single week this year, but we finally put it all together in the final week of the regular season. We await our seeding in the tournament now, so that's always good on a Sunday. It's always good whenever the championship series and the College World Series goes to a Monday, so that was fantastic. We won't talk about umpiring. It wasn't my best performance this weekend, but we move on. We live and we learn. And let's see.
No. Go into that one. Go into that one. Why wasn't it your best?
There was an infield fly that led to a lot of confusion on that and a lot of anger from
theirs
fans
or
and
yours?
What do you mean?
Did you miss it or did you get it?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
At least you're honest.
Did it drift out of the infield?
No, it was a call that probably could have been louder and prouder from the umpiring crew, and that led to some confusion on the infield, and it led to a couple of outs.
What are we going on? What's going on here? My boys wouldn't have took off on the infield fly. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So that led to a little bit of confusion. Not, as Justin says, the mob of angry parents. They were out in full force. The players were unhappy. The coaches were unhappy.
Parents are the worst, though.
You did your job.
But at the end of the day, I don't think it affected the result of the game, which is always good. And it led to a much more fun baseball game after that. The emotions were running high, and that always leads to fun baseball. Did I screw it up? Maybe, according to some. But we move on, and we're on to next week.
Screw it up.
Depends on who you ask.
At least you own it, though.
Yeah, I can admit as an umpire I'm not always perfect.
Yeah, at least you own it. Most of them don't.
So No single mom's numbers were acquired this weekend from one Elijah Herbel. It wasn't that kind of performance from me on the baseball diamond. Other than that, though, good. It was a good weekend.
You've served that up on a 3-2 changeup to smack out of the park with. Do you usually find single mom phone numbers after a weekend?
You always dream of it, and it never quite comes, you know.
I'm leaving that alone.
There is one umpire, I won't out him, but he did meet his future wife. She was a single baseball mom, and he was an umpire. And I don't think they exchanged numbers.
How did that conversation? Your kid's really awful, but damn, you're hot.
I don't.
Timmy needs to play right field.
If my story serves me correctly, I believe it was like they didn't hit it off in the baseball diamond, but it was a case of, oh, I seen you were on the baseball diamond type thing. So, yeah, that's not my dream. That's not how I envision meeting my future wife. Is she's 38 and has 2 kids that I umpire.
So she liked him in his pants. That's what you're saying.
It's possible. It's possible.
I just know that we were playing some tournament, and this is a Steve Schmidt, Joe Papa story. And he ended up sitting with the other team. And then I looked at, their section of moms, and I understood why. It wasn't anything against Junior or not wanting to sit with us or the family, but he just found himself, I don't say he was out loud cheering for the other team, but he just worked himself into a row of moms, and that was typical dad. It was pretty good. So we'll dive into Tennessee A&M. We'll talk recruiting, monster recruiting weekend for Nebraska as the Huskers able to land Mekhi Nelson, talented running back, class of 2024. Tim Verghese with us from Inside Nebraska, Rivals.com. Tim's been all over Nebraska and their recruiting prowess. Nebraska's had a lot of targets commit elsewhere this weekend, so we'll get the lowdown on who's still on the board for the Big Red, how that's going. Mr. Blackshirt himself, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, as Uncle Charlie will join us at 5 o'clock. Jay Moore will check in as well, and plenty of thoughts also. We'll dive into a little Game 7 NHL, but the scene is set for Tennessee A&M. One question, who are you cheering for? Should I even ask? I think it's going to be a heavy Tennessee take. We'll get to the StreamYard shout-outs, our starting 5. But I do want to ask this question. When your team won, that could be Nebraska, that could be the Yankees, that could be the Broncos, that could be the Chiefs, how and who did you celebrate with? Now, the Triple Play podcast, a must-listen to with Joba and Elijah. We did a pre-show pod, pre-Game 3 pod, the Triple Play podcast on YouTube at the Trip Play. On Twitter is where you follow and can catch that. But we kind of polled Tennessee and A&M fans as they were going to the can or going back up to the bar. And one Tennessee guy's like, yep, I'm going to sing Rocky Top with my boys, which is great. A&M fan had a big old chopper to tribute Lenny Dykstra in that bottom lip. And he's like, I may just strip down and go swim in the Missouri River. And I'm like, are you sure? There could be some algae. Find a pool or a fountain, one or the other. But he may be swimming at midnight in the Missouri River.
Yeah, I would
gig him.
I would love to hear from our viewers, like, when your team wins, is there a tradition? Is there just something you do? Like, let us know, and we'll give our shout out. And we'll do everything, but I know what I do, but that doesn't mean anything. We want to know what you guys do.
I know what I did, and I'm sure you can tell a World Series story. And Elijah, Broncos, and Peyton Manning, the sheriff.
Yeah, when they won that one, I partied with the family doctor, actually.
Did you really? I want to hear this in a minute. Let's get our starting 5 shout-outs here. On the StreamYard, you want to listen and watch the show, listen and watch the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Sal, good to have you. Sal checks in first, bright and early at 3:22 this afternoon. Says, GBR, let's go. Huskers on the recruiting trail. NU Grandpa is back, says, yo. NASCAR Eric is in. Says sup, fellas. Jeff Snitley, the cleanup hitter, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. He is in. And Jeff also says go Vols. Weston is in. Weston, good to have you, bud. Checking in while working grounds. And he's in Blair. That heat is hitting him. So good to have Weston in. Jimmy says it's too darn hot. A-Dub shakes Jimmy's hand, says what's up. Cliff gave us Florida Everglades weather today in Nebraska, in Omaha. KG says he's back. Good to have him. Anonymous is already in, wants us to ask Charlie about the single most dominating performance he's ever seen by a inside linebacker at any level. And he wants us to get the answer of Kenny Walker. Kenny is my favorite. Anonymous, did he spend time? He was sitting a booth away from the Ricketts and his entourage. Which is cool. The real Matthew is in. Patrick is here. Chopper 76. And he's ready to do all sorts of tutorials. We'll just leave it at that. Tiger Shark Diver is in. Brent is here. Scott is here. And we'll get Rule the Day is in and is not happy. Trev is here. Away we go. 489-1240. So I'll set it up in a moment with my celebration. Elijah, though, you partied with the family doctor when your team won. So we got skinny dipping on the left side here for A&M. We have singing Rocky Top for the Tennessee fan we pulled. You and the family doctor and the fam did what with Peyton in that championship?
Well, quickly, I do want to say Schlossnagel may celebrate tonight by going off to Texas. That's been rumored in Austin for a couple of days now.
He wouldn't. That's hilarious.
We can maybe talk about that a little bit later.
Dude, that is absolutely that's so funny. But you better get an armored car to get out of town.
Well,
because
there's apparently a private flight that is currently in the air from Austin to College Station.
That is hilarious.
Or Austin to Omaha. So could that be some A&M fans living in Austin? Maybe. Could that be an athletic director coming up to Omaha to scoop Schlossnagel away? I don't know.
That is so. Think about that. He's done TCU, then he gets to A&M, and then they hate Texas clearly and obviously. But not only do they hate Texas coming into the SEC, not only you invade their neighborhood, but fellas, now you're going to maybe take their coach.
I don't have many thoughts on that. I do know that would be a very Texas fan wishful thinking to do.
Thank you. All right, a new golf towel.
But I will say, okay, back to the Super Bowl story. So this is Super Bowl 50, the Broncos against the Panthers. The family doctor, no free shout-outs. Shout out to Dr. Rector. He's been a big Broncos fan, friends with my dad. He invited the whole family over to his place. He's got the home theater set up in the basement. So we had a watch party with the Broncos. And after the Broncos won it, we got to celebrate with him over at his place. I was still in high school, so there was no drinks or anything of that sort for me. But the family did get to go celebrate with Dr. Rector. We had a great time. So shout out to the Rector family for having us for that one if they're listening. I doubt they are. They're busy people. But that's where we celebrated.
I'm a huge Broncos fan, too, so I can't argue with that, I guess.
How about the fact you partied with the family doctor? There's probably all sorts of snacks. It was wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody won a 2 championships. How'd you party that night you won the world championship with the Yanks?
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I literally, a crazy story. We won. I took my entire uniform off and put it in my locker so that they couldn't take it. And then I had the flag. There was 2 flags, and I had the flag, and I had it. Then we get into the clubhouse, and I paid one of our clubhouse kids $500. And I was like, run this to my car right now so they can't take it from me.
Sure.
And I still have it.
Oh, good.
And I still have it. And it's something that you'll never forget. It just, I was so very fortunate to have my dad and my son to be able to watch it, and obviously the honor and the privilege to be able to pitch in that game, the clinching game. But we celebrated till it was probably till like 6 a.m. I ended up at McDonald's in the drive-thru. I was trying to get me some McNuggets.
Barbecue or honey?
I'm a hot mustard guy.
Okay.
I'm a hot mustard guy. I don't mind the barbecue. My son, love you, Carter. They're a sweet and sour guy. Well, I just don't get it.
It's got a barbecue or nothing.
Joba, McDonald's trip included, do you think that you and your teammates ran up a bigger tab than the Boston Bruins back in 2011 whenever they won the Cup? $156,000 was their tab at the MGM Grand after they lifted Lord Stanley.
No, they didn't stand a chance.
Really?
They did not stand a chance. We were spoiled too. We came in with 2 Magnum bottles, thanks to Hove, Jay-Z, as you're listening, 2 Magnum bottles of champagne. So we were already $100,000 in before we even got there.
That's pretty good. Tim Verghese will continue the celebration on the way with Hail Varsity.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
We'll continue the McDonald's drive-thru story when the Yankees won the World Championship. The show question today, how did you celebrate when your team won it all? A lot of Vols fans walking through. Also a lot of A&M fans down here at Addy's, North 10th. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain. Tim Verghese with us from inside Nebraska, Rivals.com. A busy June for Tim, for Nebraska, as Nebraska continuing to go full court here with recruiting. Tim, thanks for the time today. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Hope you all had a good weekend, stayed cool. It was pretty warm out there.
It's brutal.
It was hot.
We are not out on the patio. Nobody is out on the patio, which is a rare sight here at Addy's in downtown Omaha. But who was your team, Tim, growing up as a kid?
Ooh, I was mainly a college football fan more than anything growing up.
Yeah.
So it was Nebraska for me.
Okay.
But which kind of makes sense. But outside of that, I haven't experienced a team championship in my life, like a championship that I've individually set. Like I was a LeBron fan in basketball, so it's like I've had LeBron championships, but I haven't had a team championship to celebrate.
All right, that's fair enough. Elijah got to party with the family doctor when Peyton and Denver won it.
I also did some brief party on O Street when the Nuggets won it all last year. So
look at you.
That was on a weeknight, unfortunately.
Coach McBride handed me a beer. It was one of Milt Tenniper's beers at the Fountain Blue after Nebraska. Yeah, after Nebraska beat Peyton Manning in Tennessee.
How old were you?
It's 20. We aren't going to get into that. It's 20. Cousin Dino snuck us in 500 to the doorman. It worked out beautifully.
I was doing some quick math there, and I'm like,
February was a year away. Tim, let's talk Nebraska. You had the news here on Mekhi Nelson, running back 2024. He is in, an athlete, phenomenal ball player out of the state of Pennsylvania. Give us the lowdown here on his fit with the Big Red.
Yeah, this one's been interesting, kind of the way this has all kind of come together. Obviously offered last month. When the offer went out in the first place, I was like, that's interesting. Jamarian Parker still felt good there. And at the time he was a 25 recruit. So it was like, Nebraska already has Connor Booth committed. Nebraska is planning to get Jamarian Parker. Why McBride Nelson, while the offer called him up, figured out kind of him and EJ Bartel go back a couple years. Bartel offered him back at UConn. They've maintained that relationship for a couple years. And, he went out and won Under Armour MVP at the Under Armour New Jersey camp, or running back MVP at the Under Armour New Jersey camp. And that was kind of the final green light that Matt Rule needed to kind of give him to let Bartel offer him. And so from there, he came down for a camp in the first weekend of June, camped in front of the staff, worked out at a couple of different positions, performed well enough that Rule once again needed another green light, got the green light from Rule to come back for an official visit, made that official visit last week, and then there was talk of, hey, he's planning to reclassify, and then things started to kind of make a little more sense. Nebraska was looking for that 2024 scholarship running back. They got Dante Dowdle, but they didn't get one from the high school level. This is that guy basically for that 2024, that high school running back for them. But the fact that he came in, worked out at multiple positions, gave them that, okay, we can bring this guy in on scholarship because he has some positional versatility. I know they worked him out at DB, saw some reps of him at wide receiver as well. So he's not necessarily locked in at running back, though I think, just from what I've seen on film and talking to him as a player, I think he's going to get his start in the running back room, kind of work himself into that rotation. As far as what Nebraska's getting, I don't think this is an immediate contributor. It's competition that's being added to the running back room, a guy that, if needed, has the size, has the speed to potentially play and contribute some reps. But more than anything, I think this is just competition for now, and a guy that, down the line with some time in the weight room, some time in the program, can contribute in special teams and in the running back position, that kind of rotation.
So, Tim, the guys that we've had come in, who do you think is either the most valuable or the most needed for us to continue to build this program and what Matt Rule is doing?
You're just in general in 24, 25. That's tough. I don't think that guy is in the class yet in 2025. I'll say that much. The guy that they I think getting one of Dawson Merritt or Christian Jones, I think is the guy for 2025. For 2024, if you're just looking back on this last class, I think, again, securing Carter Nelson was not easy, and I think a lot of people kind of underestimate that land just because he was an in-state guy, but it was not easy to secure that commitment. And that's the type of guy that the vision they have for him, the offense playing all these different positions, and kind of what he would mean for this offense down the line. I think that was a really, really important get, and a guy that, to me, outside of Dylan Raiola on that offense is kind of the key. That's the key to taking this thing up to the next level. An offensive weapon that can do a lot of different things for Nebraska. But if you're looking at 25, I think getting one of Dawson Merritt or Christian Jones is big. That's kind of the guy for the 25 class. Of course, you want to potentially get one of these top offensive linemen. But outside of that, I think a big receiver is probably key. Michael Terry, I would say, is one of those guys, but they've got options there. I think Terry, that recruitment's kind of getting to a point where Nebraska's starting to fade a little bit compared to Oregon and Texas A&M. We're starting to get a little concerned about kind of Nebraska's placement compared to those other schools, but there's receiver options out there. I think you're going to see them expand that board a little bit here throughout the rest of the summer and going to the fall potentially, just as they kind of reevaluate some things. They've lost some targets off that board, and they still want that big body receiver this class.
You mentioned the importance of getting some of those high-level offensive linemen. Nebraska missing out on two of them over the weekend in Tapu and Douglas Utu. Utu to Tennessee and Brian Tapu to Oregon State. Your reaction to those two? I think Nebraska felt all right with where they were with Brian, mixed off to Oregon State, and you're never going to see him again. He commits during his visit up to Corvallis. A reaction to both of those guys committing elsewhere?
Yeah, Utu was always going to be tough. That one, I think, was just always going to be a long shot. I felt better about Nebraska's chances with the other two Bishop Gorman O-linemen than I did with him, even though he did make that official visit. I was more worried about Alabama and Michigan than I was Tennessee, but Tennessee's done a really good job this cycle getting guys in and then not letting them leave uncommitted. That's just been really impressive on their part of the way they've been able to do that with a couple top guys. Nebraska's battling them for a couple other recruits this cycle. They've been, kind of a common recruiting foe these last few cycles. So that one, it stings, but it's not necessarily surprising. But at the same time as well, Utu's the type, because of the relationships kind of Donovan Raiola has at Bishop Gorman, a successful year for Nebraska could see Utu back on campus, could open that up for Nebraska to get there. Tapu, on the other hand, that one's confusing. That one I still don't have a great read on. Coming out of his Nebraska OV, he straight up told me, he's like, I'm going to make that Oregon State official, and then I'm committing to Nebraska the week after. And I was like, okay, but that Oregon State OV was always going to happen, and so I don't think that the staff knew that was happening. The staff knew he was making this final visit and then, was going to make that decision afterwards. Midway through the week last week, he texted me. He's like, hey, I'm not committing next week anymore. And so I was like, that's interesting. Texted him back, asked for some clarification. Didn't really get a straight answer from him on exactly why. But kind of reading between the lines here, I kind of wonder a little bit if Nebraska, this cycle, because of the offensive line group they took last in the 24 cycle, and 26 is shaping up to be a big O-line year for them as well. I think numbers are limited for them. I wouldn't anticipate more than 3, maybe even 4 offensive linemen in this 25 cycle. So I think they're being very, very careful with spots. And Tapu, with 1 year of experience playing the position and, a true developmental guy, will need like 2-3 years before he's even ready to see the field at the P4 level. Kind of wonder a little bit if Nebraska wanted him to wait a little longer, not necessarily make a summer decision, but he was kind of ready to just commit and lock in a spot somewhere, which is the right decision, which is the right thing for a kid in his position, is to try and lock in a spot as soon as possible, because you don't want to be, come around November, December, and you don't have anywhere to commit to, and I think he wanted to just lock in that spot.
Tim Verghese with us from Inside Nebraska, Rivals.com, Hail Varsity Radio. Monday recruiting hit and some great clarification there. Tim, a couple of minutes here in this segment. We might have to go a little overtime. But what is the feel from Will Hawthorne? He's a linebacker Nebraska's targeting out of Iowa. Also, Chase Lofton, of course. And the third name is Sire Wright from SC. That's the portal target at defensive back. Start off, though, if you can, here with Hawthorne and Lofton.
Yeah, so starting off with Hawthorne, caught up with him yesterday after the visit and put up that story that's on Inside Nebraska right now. You can read it. He is down to 2. It's coming down to Iowa State and Nebraska, and I put it in the story. He just straight up said it. It's kind of my read on the whole recruitment as well. He's not decided now. He's going to make a decision here in the next week or two, going to sit down with his family and kind of make that final decision. But he's really just kind of the ultimate factor for him at this point is, he said it himself, do I want to stay home and be the hometown hero? He lives 15 minutes away from Ames. Do I want to stay home, be the hometown hero, or do I want to go to the Big Ten, try something new, expand my horizons, and go live in a bigger city, in a city I've never been to, or obviously he's been here twice this month, but a city he's never lived in before, and try something new. So that's his debate right now, is kind of just deciding, stick with what's familiar, go to something new. Nebraska's been on the winning end of some of those recruitments when they've been the one they're the hometown school. This is obviously they're on the other side of it, where they're trying to pull a kid from his hometown. So I'm curious to see kind of over the next week kind of where he's leaning and how that internal debate goes. Nebraska did the best job they could. I think this visit went as well as it could. He spent a lot of time with some of the commits on campus. Actually, last week I was at Millard North and I was talking to Caden Verghese, just like, hey, man, who are you working on this weekend? And he mentioned him and Caden's older brother and then Will Hawthorne's second cousin are best friends. So they have that relationship kind of going in. And so they kind of started texting going into the weekend. And then the weekend came and went. And they pretty much spent the whole weekend together. Caden introduced him to Pierce Newberry and Tanner Turch and Jackson Carpenter. And I asked Will afterwards, I was like, hey, man, I know going in you didn't know a whole lot of people. Do you feel closer than anybody in Nebraska? He's like, I would call those 4 guys I just mentioned friends. Like, straight up, like, even if I don't end up at Nebraska, I think those guys are my friends. And so that was a cool development. I think those relationships are going to continue to work in Nebraska's favor. With Dawson Merritt kind of trending towards Bama at this point, I think that bodes well for, like, hey, Nebraska kind of needs Hawthorne. He's a bigger priority now to try and land him. So Nebraska's going to be pushing, kind of pedal to the metal until this decision comes in.
Hang tight. Tim Verghese with us. A little overtime coming up with Tim. Recruiting from the weekend, Inside Nebraska, Rivals.com. Hail Varsity on the road here for the CWS at Addy's North 10th. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you here at Addy's, downtown Omaha, North 10th. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain. Some overtime with Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Rivals.com. And Tim, thanks for giving us a few more minutes. Great insight as always at Tim Verghese. Follow him on Twitter Good perspective on Will Hawthorne, the linebacker. Chase Lofton, the tight end everyone wants to throw to.
Yeah, that from what I've heard from this weekend, everything it went well. I think Nebraska getting that final official visit for him was big. Needed this weekend to kind of close that door on Texas A&M and Florida State. And while I don't think that door is necessarily closed all the way, they did a really good job of kind of securing, about as best as they could, kind of just making that final pitch and kind of laying out like, hey, you're a priority here. And you are even though we have Carter Nelson coming in, even though we took as many tight ends as we did last year, even though we have Bear Tenney committed, we're going to stay on you. You're still a guy that we see contributing early in this offense. And so those factors paired with just the opportunity to potentially stay home. Chase is kind of on the opposite side of like what I mentioned with Hawthorne. Do I have a chance to stay home or try something new? That's his personal internal debate right now. Is he's on the flip side of that of like, do I stay home and play for Nebraska? Do I try something new down in Texas at Texas A&M or go out to Florida State? So I imagine we'll see a decision here in the near future from him. He did end up spending a little extra time on campus. He missed a lot of Saturday for a funeral, so spent a lot of pretty much one-on-one time with the coaching staff on Sunday, which I think was big for him, just to get that individual time with them. So that went well. And then the third one was Sierra Wright, the transfer corner. That one we haven't heard a whole lot on, just coming out of the weekend, just generally overall positive vibes. Again, like he hasn't made a whole lot of other visits. Nebraska's kind of that school that's kind of reached out and kept him, brought him in. Kind of they're looking to kind of add some depth to that cornerback room. I think they've gotten some necessary clarity on his priorities. He's an actor as well. He was in Space Jam with LeBron James, the new one. He was LeBron James' son. So he's got like a real acting career. And when this weekend, as he was in town, I was talking to some people on USC's end, like, hey, he started 11 games in 2022, didn't really have a great 2023, got benched, and then ended up leaving the team. Like, what happened there? And so talking to people there, just kind of felt like in Los Angeles, there were just distractions in terms of like trying to balance that acting career and that football career. Coming out of, that season, taking some time away from football, he's kind of reprioritized and now has football as a number one priority for him for the foreseeable future. And, if this doesn't work out for him, he can always go back to acting. But for now, I think he wants to make football that priority. And still a talented player. He was a top 100 player for Rivals coming out of high school. You go watch the high school tape. There's some encouraging stuff there. Go watch the 2022 tape. There's some encouraging stuff there. The 23 tape's not great. It's kind of rough. But that's pretty much the entire USC's defense in 23. That I don't think that's necessarily on one guy, even as bad as he was. That was just the tape of their defense as a whole.
So, Tim, let me ask you a question. You brought up some guys and how those relationships and the people that he meets, and you brought up Jackson Carpenter, who is near and dear to my heart because he grew up with my son. What do you think the relationship when they get to meet these kids, when they goes on these OVs, what impact do you think that makes on them to commit or to go elsewhere?
Nebraska specifically, I'll say this, and kind of just goes to the culture that Matt Rule's built. Guys feel immersed immediately. I think we touched on this last week as well, but like guys feel immersed immediately in that culture, and they feel that not just from the current players, but the commits as well. Especially the local commits, like the Vermonts, the Newberries, the Carpenters, the one that have spent a lot of time on campus, that are pretty acclimated already with the team and the culture and have an understanding of how things work. Those guys are pretty much already acclimated in the culture. They already feel, like part of it. And so, it puts that pressure, not pressure on them necessarily, but it's like, hey, I'm like, for Hawthorne, for example, he's like, I spent that time on campus. Now I know what it's like to like be a part of that Nebraska brotherhood. I maybe want to be a part of that. I realistically kind of want to be a part of that. I want to experience that. The relationships is a factor for some guys. For some, it's not. But for a guy like Will, it definitely seems to be like a real factor. And the fact that, and he said too, he's like, feels like it was pretty orchestrated that he came in the same weekend as all those commits that are already really close with each other, and he got to kind of feel how close they were and kind of be a part of that group, even though he technically wasn't a commit this weekend.
Tim Verghese with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. Some recruiting thoughts with Tim, a Monday tradition. And Tim, before we get you out of here, want to get your thoughts. TJ Latif's performance in the Elite 11 finals. I know he didn't actually get included among that final 11, but he did go out and perform in front of scouts and in front of coaches out there. I want to get your thoughts on his performance.
Yeah, talked to some people that were out there that saw him. Obviously, was keeping track of his performance as well. Got to see some videos. He didn't start the week off. It was over 3 days. The first day wasn't super great for him, but kind of picked it up day 2, and then day 3 in the 7-on-7 session, he went 17 for 23 with 4 touchdowns, I believe. A pretty good showing in that 7-on session. Kept it clean, didn't have any turnovers. Guys over there liked his accuracy, liked kind of the spin he gets on the ball, kind of the consistent velocity, the touch. Some of the stuff that he does really well doesn't necessarily pop up in these shorts and t-shirt settings. He's very much like a gamer between the lines of stringing drives together and doing that kind of stuff. He's never going to be, like I said, he's never had the biggest arm. That's never going to be a thing with him, but consistently accurate. And I was talking to like our rivals national team that was out there about him. They were like, just fits what Nebraska's looking for from a culture standpoint. He never backed down from competition. He's not coming to Nebraska to back down from the competition. So just a very competitive young man. Really impressed some guys with his mentality this week. Kind of dealing with some adversity, dealing with there's some physical freaks in this cycle in terms of quarterbacks. So he's kind of naturally just behind the 8 ball there. But there's nothing he can really do about that. But he came out, he competed, did the best he could. And, yeah, I as far as why he didn't make the Elite 11, that's all for me to say. That's the way they kind of do that's interesting. They do 50% off the film, some of it off of the competition, and then some of it's off of intangibles as well. So it's kind of pick and choose, you know what I mean? Like, you never really know. Dylan Raiola probably should have won it last year if he'd actually gone out and competed, but that didn't happen. So it's one of those things that I wouldn't get too worked up in the fact that he didn't make the final Elite 11. I mean, the fact that he was there, competed, and generally made positive waves, I think should be what people should take away from his performance.
Tim, last thought here, about 15 seconds. JJ Redick to the Lakers. Does it work or does it crash and burn?
I think it's going to crash and burn. I don't feel good.
That's a no. That's a no.
It gives me hope that someday I will get called up by the Denver Broncos to come save the organization.
That is the politically correct answer. Good job.
Negative Mike has been in several times wondering what the hell's going on this month in recruiting for Nebraska. I paraphrased it. Tim, your insight says that it's going to be okay. That's the vibe I'm getting from you. It's still early.
Yeah, it's still early
in
and
the
again,
process.
I've kind of maintained it this month. The thing with Nebraska is a lot of these guys just want to see results, and they have not seen that yet. And there's just nothing Nebraska can do about that until the fall. But if fall comes around, they have some results. It's a lot of guys that maybe committed elsewhere, maybe are no longer considering Nebraska, but they would be considering Nebraska with some positive results.
Tim, be good. Appreciate you much, man.
Of course, appreciate y'all.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Winding down this first hour, it's Hail Varsity live here at Addy's, North 10th, downtown Omaha. A cutoff throw from the College World Series, A&M and Tennessee. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and Joba Chamberlain on site with us. You guys are on fire today in the stream. Love it. Pretty good. You have the... what I tell you, Joba here, the other...
Anybody can hit off me?
Yeah, anyone rolled up to Joba, say, hey, I can hit a fast ball off of you. That's probably after the ball game, the beer starts flowing.
Well, listen, Joba, how hard...
They still don't have a chance, though.
How hard do you think you could throw a fastball today?
I think he still hits 90.
Yeah, I hit 93.
90? Okay.
Cliff asks how many Suburbans you scope out, Elijah, when parking at baseball tournaments with the single moms. How many stickers are on the back window?
I don't scope that out. I more tend to scope out, is there a man sitting next to them? That's the bigger one.
Well, I would hope so.
The insinuation, how bad do you want your son's team to win?
This is calling my integrity into question.
The stream is going fire today. Good work, people.
That's pretty good. That's
you guys
pretty
are
good.
Great.
Our dear friend Brian Snitley from the Boulder Peace Treaty, we asked you, how did you celebrate when your team won a title? Elijah partied with the family doc. I got a beer from Coach Milt and Charlie after the 98 Orange Bowl. And it was Maker's Mark, and it was glorious, says Mr. Jeff Snitley, after the Cubs won the World Series. I was in a bar with my old Babe Ruth coach watching the final out in when was that? When did the Cubs win it?
It cost me like $200,000.
When was it? Because the Royals.
Because it was against the Indians.
2016? 2016, had to have been.
2016.
Yeah, because I was on the Indians that year.
Well, sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks.
But we need to go back to your drive-through story.
Well, no, see, Joba, you should have absolutely risked your baseball career and hedged a bet.
No.
To make sure you got that $200K.
No, we've seen what's happened with that. No, that will not happen. That'll never happen.
What time did you go through the McDonald's drive-thru after the night of championships?
It was probably about 5:30 in the morning, and I will say there was somebody passed out in the car. Will not dime them out because that's not what we do on our shows. But I definitely crushed 40 nuggets and a double quarter pounder.
See, that's a big order.
That is, you gotta go Big Mac instead of the quarter pounder.
No.
See, I'm not a Big Mac guy.
No,
Big Mac's incredible.
I used to be a Big Mac guy.
I'm not a Big Mac guy.
They flipped to the fresh beef on the quarter pounder, and it was a game
Allegedly.
changer. Game changer. The quarter pounder is
do we really know what it is, though?
Let's see, but the 5:30 McDonald's run brings into question at that point, do you flip over to breakfast? Because I think they start serving at 5 a.m. They kind of do both at that hour.
Well,
you gotta go breakfast burritos
But you got to remember, I lived in New Jersey at the time, so it was we had the full menu. So we had the full menu still there, and I was completely excited. Let's just put it that way. And I was like, I want everything. And nuggies, give me fries. Like
I can't get a crisp meat burrito, but damn it, I can take all of it down.
And I did my best work. I did my best effort. And
Coach,
then I had to get Carter at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Coach McBride's on the way. Hour 2 on the way.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you on the road here for the College World Series. All sorts of orange, all sorts of maroon. As we are here at Addy's downtown, North 10th in Omaha. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and Husker Hall of Famer and two-time World Series champ Joba Chamberlain with us. We welcome in Mr. Blackshirt. A Monday with Charlie, Coach Charlie McBride. Maybe. I can't hear you. Elijah, you were saying something into the microphone. Okay, you're discussing with Charlie. You're like, all right, shut up, Schmidt. Let me talk to Coach before we bring him on. So Coach McBride is...
Ouch, Elijah.
Yeah,
Dang.
Coach is coming up here. We are going to try and run Jay Moore down as well. And how did you celebrate a championship? That's the question we have. We've heard from A&M fans. We've heard from Tennessee fans. And I told you my story about being a sophomore in college. And cousin Dino, God rest his soul, with my dad, God rest his soul, snuck in a few $100 bills. They bribed the doorman. They got us into the back area. First people I meet, Coach McBride and Coach Milt. And did you want a beer? It was pretty good. It was pretty good. That's how I celebrated the national championship. We're working on Coach, so we'll get that figured out and try and run Coach down. 489-1240, 489-1240, number to get in, 800-825-5865. So There's been a Morgan Wallen sighting. There's been Eric Church sightings. There's been Peyton Manning sightings. There's also been a Trev sighting, but not here, probably in the suites. I know, oh, wow. The reality is it's going to be a good night for one fan base, right?
Yes,
you know
100%,
that. You remember
100%.
that well when it comes to you yourself winning the championship, you as a Nebraska fan. We will go to Coach McBride here and welcome him in on a Monday. Coach, thanks for taking time today. How you doing?
Good. Weather's beautiful, and we're expecting a bunch of storms. Good.
It's 4,000 degrees here. Heat and humidity are staring each other in the eye. It is brutally hot and humid. Let me ask you this to start out. Who are you cheering for tonight, Tennessee or A&M?
Well, I think because of Trev A&M. That's how I picked. That's like, what dog do you want? Well, we were in Arizona, and I went to the dog races, and I said, well, my birthday's on the 20th, so I'll take 20. And they said, no, they only have 12 dogs. So that's about my experience with it. But I think that A&M's got a chance. And I kind of, and the reason is I kind of think they're the, kind of the people that are maybe not supposed to win but might do it.
Well, it would be, Coach, at the same time, it would be the first time that a number one seed has won since '99.
Well,
in
I've
Tennessee.
been there.
So, well, yeah, you know that better than a lot of us. So it'll be fun to watch. It's been great, and I think it's fun to just see the energy and the vibes, and you know that better than anybody when you get to this position, how important that is with just the energy and everything that comes with being in this experience.
The only thing that I can honestly say about it is I learned a good lesson. We won the national championship in '94. We're going into the Devaney Center. And I got on up with all the players and Coach Osborne, and he's standing next to me. And he didn't look real excited. I mean, it kind of looked like, nothing was bothering him. But anyway, he said, we can only enjoy this for one day. And he said, the governor's probably going to say we're going to win it again next year. Governor gets up there and says, we're national champions and we're going to do it again next year. And Tom says, they never give you a chance to just relax and win this one. So they're in for that one. That's the only problem with it.
Yeah, you never stop coaching. I mean, you gotta keep going.
You get a day to take a breath, and then it's time to close recruits for February. Charlie McBride's with us. Coach, do you remember? And I told the story about meeting you. This is back in 1998 at the Fountain Blue in Miami. It's you and Milt having a Busch Light after you beat Tennessee and Peyton. And somehow my fam Damley paid the doorman to sneak in. I was in college. This is before I went to the media, the dark side. And you hand me a beer and my dad a beer, and I just smile when I think about it. It's pretty awesome. Do you remember? Or maybe it was Milt handing the beer, but you guys were pretty hospitable to outsiders, crashing your championship party. It was pretty awesome.
No, you weren't, because our ships have already sailed. We didn't have a clue.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
But no, I tell you what, and if you're going to have somebody to drink with, Milt's the best one in the world. Yeah, and so I guess we got to be pretty good friends a little bit that way, and and we confided in each other a lot and worked together a lot. Questions on each side of the ball. Does this work or does that work, and so on and so forth. And it really helped me, and it helped him.
It's Coach Charlie McBride with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, and Coach, with a couple of different teams getting crowned tonight. First in the College World Series, Tennessee A&M. You also had the Stanley Cup Finals between the Panthers and the Oilers tonight, Game 7. There's going to be a champion crowned there. We've talked a little bit about the joy of victory. Take me to the other side about the agony of defeat, of being so close, because there's going to be two teams tonight that got so close to the mountaintop and couldn't get there. How long does that stick with you? How long does that motivate you for being the team that loses in the biggest game of your life? Like, from your own personal experience, how long does that stick with you?
Well, the thing is it sticks with you, okay? And, or you can't win the big one, or you can't do this and that. We've been through those, and those, you're always thinking in the back of your mind. It's not something in front of you that's there. You have to. It's got to be the game period to win. And so if you're thinking about ahead or something like that, I never thought too much about that. But I when the season's over, you really think about it. And the one thing about being an assistant coach is, you don't ever want to let, like I made a game plan, okay? And every time I made it, I was like a Sunday night all-nighter, and the reason is because you just don't want to let the players down. You want to be sure that you're covered and that all bases are covered, and it has nothing to do with, I guess, winning a national champion. It just has to do with winning that game. And that's kind of all the way that I've always thought about it is, we can never get to the national championship, I guess when you think about it in the off season, unless you put that kind of effort into it. And, and then if you lose, get your name in the paper. So that's, it's a hard road to hoe, but I never thought too much about, that ahead. I always, like you said, when Tom didn't win a national championship and things like that, I thought about it in the off season probably more almost than I did during the season.
So especially, Coach, let me ask you a question. When you were preparing these kids for a championship game, did you approach it different, or did you just try to keep it the same status quo of what you were doing?
Well, you're at a bowl game, and you're down at a different environment, and you're down where it's every day. You don't have a choice. You have people coming in from the bowl people and fans and everybody else coming to see it and things like that. So, it's just I never, you want to win the game. That's the main thing, and you want to be sure you're covered, and you want to be sure your kids are ready to roll. And each position coach has got a tough responsibility because there's a certain area in there when you feel comfortable with the players you're coaching. And I know that I've been in situations where I wasn't real in other schools and just winning games. I wasn't real comfortable, that we could do it. And but in all the bowl games I've been to, and we lost a few of them, I was always confident that we could, that we could win. And most of them that we lost when I was there probably were my fault anyway. So what's the difference?
Well, I think you're a little hard on yourself there, Coach, as it's all phases, right? Offense, defense, special teams, and we'll just put that one off to the side about the blame game.
Well, that is kind of the point I was making, though, with the losses that stick with you is a loss like that, I mean, so many people ask themselves what you could do differently in a moment, and there's going to be guys like that tonight for A&M or for Tennessee or for
one more play,
the Panthers
right?
or the Oilers. They're asking themselves, what could I have done differently to change that result? I think that's common. I think that kind of speaks to the agony of defeat is still here in 2024. I think Charlie probably asked himself some things he could have done differently in those moments.
You know, the Tennessee game, of course, I think playing Manning was kind of a big thing for our players.
Yeah.
You know, that they went on defense at least, you know. And of course, we played well, and, you know, that was the way it went. And the funny thing is when you say that, for example, the 95 team was the best team we had, well, if you take and cut it in half, and when we put our chibabas in there at the end of the game to make the mothers happy, they might have scored 2 touchdowns. So when you really figure out how good our defense was, it was better than what you're reading.
That's so good. Charlie McBride, you gotta put the backups in, Coach. Give them time on the field, right?
Well, I can say that because I'm an old man, right?
No, I know. I love it. I love it. Coach, want to get your thought here on, we got about a minute and a half here, and it's great to catch up with you. Recruiting, Nebraska and Coach Rule done just an excellent job with hosting camps. What do you see from you know, where you're at with how Nebraska's organized from a recruiting standpoint?
Well, they've done such a good job of recruiting, and the whole thing's changed from when we were, you know, there. And we did in a skeleton look at it. We probably did a lot of the same things that they're doing now. But that, you know, I think they're more. I don't want to say scientific, but they have a lot more things. People working at different areas. And I think that's where it makes a difference with players and parents and things like that. I know that Boyd Epley did a tremendous job of selling the weight room and things like that. He had a lot of stuff on computers for parents and stuff. So there's a lot of things that you have in your arsenal that some other school doesn't have. And I think academics, we had, you know, the athletic director talk to the recruits about academics sometimes, you know, at lunchtime, and it was, you know, those things with the parents was really favorable.
That's good stuff. It is. All bases have been covered. Charlie McBride with us here on Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity Radio. It's a road show. Here at Addy's, the A&M fans are still making sure they're hydrated, as are the Tennessee fans with that 111-degree heat index outside.
You have to punish your body and show it who's boss.
100%. Coach, I love that. Coach, thank you so much. That's a
so
great
good.
way to end this segment. Thank
that
you
is
so
good.
much.
You got to get prepared. You got to get prepared. Coach, we'll holler at you next Monday, and we'll talk firecrackers, okay?
I got a whole bunch of them here. They're all
illegal.
They're leftovers, and I got them hidden all over the place, so I don't have to pull them all out at once.
Well, there we go. That is good. Coach, you take care.
Hey,
best to
fun.
You. Will do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Okay.
There he is.
Okay. Miss you guys. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
There he is, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride. A Monday with Charlie. You imagine the arsenal Coach McBride probably has of M80s, Roman candles.
He's probably got so many stored up.
Bottle rockets. We'll continue on from Addy's. It's Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. Hail Varsity continues live here at Addy's. We'll check in maybe later on in the hour with Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFL, or our Blackshirt Hour.
Great number, 44.
Yeah, 44 is a good number. That was good stuff from Charlie McBride. Get the podcast Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the audio, the video, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Like and subscribe there. Find us on Twitter at HVarsity Radio as well. So KG is jumping off the top rope. The topic du jour today, and Coach McBride touched on it briefly. They didn't really have a chance to take a breath and celebrate a championship. It was awesome. It was a fun achievement, but let's go get another one, right? Folks are writing checks for you with their mouth that your backside's got to cash. So how did you celebrate as a sports fan, either a Nebraska fan, a Denver fan like Elijah, clearly a Yankees fan like Joba? Joba enjoyed a drive-through after copious amounts of champagne. And when I was 16, we snuck out and had a big old stogie. And Nebraska beat Miami in sub-zero weather. We should have really done a better job of lobbying to have a big old stogie Cuban down in Miami that year, but we didn't. You have KG checking in with A&M fans, some A&M shade. A&M fans will celebrate a championship by milking cows.
What?
Some call that work. Others, no.
That's how you celebrate? There's so many other things I think I could do that would be way more fun than milking a cow.
Right. He's piling on them. So that is their topic.
They're gonna
go ahead.
They're going to go drill oil down there is what they're going to do to celebrate.
No, they're going to go make money.
Yeah.
They're just going to go – they're going to go make money, right? So, Joba, let's we had an Ask Joba question a little while back.
We have.
Did you ever purposefully bean anybody for talking junk?
Yeah.
Did anyone talk junk to you in the batter's box?
Well, I don't necessarily say they were purposely talking. I think it was just more so of protecting my teammates. I think it was more so in situations where it came to where if we're getting hit and we don't do anything. And that was one thing that we have talked off air, me and Schmidt, on our drive here, where I had nobody come charge me, which I probably should have. But I was in plenty of brawls. I was in plenty of everything. But I protected my teammates. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. And I know I'm not going into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm very fortunate to go into the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame. But I always wanted to protect my teammates. And at the end of the day, what I always wanted to do is I didn't care if I was the best because I knew I wasn't. I wanted to be the best teammate I could be. And I don't care if that was folding towels, if that was, getting you a water or doing whatever. But I was going to protect you guys, and I wanted to be the best teammate that I could be. And I didn't care what that took. I obviously gave you everything I got on the mound, but I also knew the aspect of what it is to get to that is to earn the respect of your teammates and your peers. And that's all I wanted. That is, did I want it? Obviously, you play the game of baseball. I was fortunate enough to, be drafted in the first round and do those things. But I would rather be known as a good person and a great teammate. And if I make it to the Hall of Fame, great. I get one Hall of Fame, so
that works.
I'm going to enjoy that one. We will have a great time. I think, Schmidt, you might have to join me in my foursome on October 4th.
You golfing?
We have it October 4th.
Okay.
Is the golf outing. Well, it doesn't matter. We're in the scramble.
We got to call our old boy Jay Moore.
Oh, yeah. If we get Jay on, Jay's coming.
Rig that thing.
Yeah, Jay's coming. And then I get inducted in November.
Oh, cool.
And
That's awesome.
So, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to protect my teammates. I wanted to be a good teammate to know that they knew that I had their back, and it wasn't just me coming for a paycheck.
It's Joba Chamberlain with us here at Addy's. Elijah Herbel in studio. Chris Schmidt, Hail Varsity.
Can I ask the question here to Joba real fast?
Yeah.
Let's say you had to go protect one of your teammates from one Chris Schmidt. What pitch would you be throwing at Schmitty, knowing that you like him behind the scenes?
He'd throw it underhand.
Like you like Schmitty, you're friends behind the scenes, but in this hypothetical world, he's on another team, and you got to protect your teammates. Are you throwing a curveball at him to try to take a little juice off? You taking a couple miles per hour off the fastball? Or are you just absolutely beating him with that fastball to the back?
No, you're not friends between the lines. When
you aim for the ear hole.
No, you don't try to aim for their head. I will agree with that. But I'm definitely plunking him right in his caboose. I'm getting him right either in the back or right in his butt, and he's going to know what it is. But, yeah, as a baseball player, you don't ever want to go at somebody's head because that's just not the way you do it. And if you want to do it the right way, this is what you do.
Advice for the young baseball players out there, how do you beat a batter?
Hit him right in the back. Right in the butt.
Just kidding, kids. Much like smoking, don't do it.
No, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. You got to protect your team.
No, you got to respond. Moonbot chimes in, talks about how he celebrated 95, or in the bigger picture here is, how did you celebrate? How did you celebrate when your team won a championship? Florida tonight, Edmonton tonight, of course Tennessee or A&M tonight. You as a Nebraska fan remember, it's been a while. You do remember Moonbot again taking beer from mom and dad and went and had a few too many with buddies. You have Brent who chimes in here on the StreamYard. Like and subscribe, can watch the show and do it that way. Tiger Shark Diver says, I get a slider. And apparently he sees the golden tee to my left. There's no commemorative jersey hanging above it. but good try. There you have it. And then you had Brent wants a shirt like you have on, Joba, from Addy's.
What size?
Yeah, Brent, tell us what size. Maybe Joba can hook you up.
What size? What do you want?
489-1240. But the celebration stories have been good by so many of you. As we look at, we already got Justin excited for 4th of July, Charlie. Next week.
He's got leftover fireworks.
Possibly. Let's talk Waldron, Povich, and Schwelle, because they're all on the hill tonight for Nebraska. Waldron's performed well. Povich with Baltimore gets the nod. Might already be underway. And then Schwelle got the win last time out. If we had to pick who has the better season this year by season's end, who are you drafting? Elijah, do you have a pick first?
What now?
Waldron, Povich, Schwelle. They're all on the hill tonight. If you had to pick,
I'm watching Waldron.
Who's going to have the better season? Who is it going to be?
I'm picking Waldron there. I'm watching Waldron tonight. Waldron's been on fire. If you haven't got a chance to watch him, his knuckleball is quickly becoming one of the best pitches in all of baseball. So watch a Padres game with Waldron on the bump. Watch him work. He's been increasing his usage of the knuckleball.
No, it's the Orioles.
What?
Not the Padres, it's the Orioles.
Povich is with Baltimore.
I'm talking Waldron.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking Waldron.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm talking Waldron here. You got to watch that knuckleball. He's throwing it closer to a 50% clip. I think he's sitting in the low 40% right now, so he's throwing it more. When it's working, borderline unhittable right now, and you'll have MLB batters tell you how unhittable it is right now. If you got to watch one of those 3 games tonight, I'll just say first off, watch Waldron. But if you haven't watched Waldron over the past couple weeks, give it a chance. It has been 6 to 7 innings of dominant work from him day in, day out whenever he's been on the bump. So I'm going to watch that. But Waldron's the easy answer there because he's got the best pitch out of any of those guys, being that knuckleball, and he puts it in a 5-pitch mix. I really like what Schwellenbach is starting to put together. I think Povich as well. I'm not sure how much longer Povich is going to have at the major league level here as the Orioles try to get themselves a little bit healthier. Schwellenbach's probably going to be in it for the long haul, but Waldron's the guy this year he's carrying the banner, because not only is it Nebraska fans talking about his performance this year, it's the who's who of baseball that are saying, wow, this dude's nails.
And obviously Waldron, he's had a little bit more opportunity, but he's pitching to a 5.6. Like, and I'm not bagging anybody because I know how hard it is. But you got Povich pitching to a 3.1, and I'm pretty sure 3.9. Excuse me, sorry, 3.9. And I know he's fascinating in the aspect. Holy cow! Where are
focus?
Where
focus!
are
Focus!
You coming?
Focus!
Sorry, that was hard. I think you root for all three of them. In what aspect of what you think? When it comes to power, strength, off speed, Waldron obviously has it in the knuckleball, and then that's an anomaly. Let's just call it what it is. But I think Schwelly just has it differently because he has the velocity. He has a great slider. I'm not saying Cade isn't bad, but I'm going to watch them all.
Well, yeah. You're going to have 8 screens going tonight, but it'll be worth it.
The problem for Cade is Cade's got the hardest path of what the Orioles already have on their roster. He's up there right now because the Orioles have been dealing with some injuries in their pitching rotation. Schwellenbach, who was that? Was it Strider that went down for the Braves that kind of cleared the way for him? He's got a bit of a runway out in front of him, and Waldron seems to be a part of the future Padres plan. So Povich also kind of finds himself with the toughest road to consistent major league appearances with the guys he has in front of him.
Jay Moore going to check in with us. We're here at Addy's Roadshow Monday here for the College World Series finale. Chris Schmidt, Joba Chamberlain, Elijah Herbel. Hail Varsity continues. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here on the road, Addy's, where we're located, as road show for the final day of the College World Series. Tennessee and A&M get going here a little bit at 6 or just a touch after. Jay Moore with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, co-host Big Red Wrap-Up to talk some ball. Jay Bird, I know the CWS is a staple for you, man, going all those times growing up in Elkhorn. And what a showcase it's been. Great start. Should be a fantastic finish. And Tennessee or A&M, who are you picking?
Yeah, it's tough. Tennessee definitely has the power. That they're almost close to setting the record, for home runs in a single season. But A&M, just the pitching and the defense that they play has been really good throughout the series. So it's going to be a fantastic matchup. Night game. It's gonna be hot, and golly, I'm leaning rookie top on this one, just because I think the bats are so good. I think they started to come alive at the back end of yesterday afternoon's game, obviously scoring runs in the 7th and 8th inning, and but A&M's pitching's been so good that they've been a little quiet, but I think Tennessee's got the momentum. They've been the best team predominantly throughout the year, and obviously we're the number 1 overall seed. So I got to lean, Peyton Manning and Rocky Top to take home the title tonight.
Well, Morgan Wallen, Eric Church, everyone's coming out of the woodwork to wear that burnt orange. Tennessee's fun, man. Good folks. A&M, they've got a little heat on social media for their yell leaders in overalls.
Yeah, that is, man.
It's unique.
Some people, it's very unique. Some people like to call it, have some other, some words for it, but unique is definitely, it's definitely the right word to say. And plus, obviously playing in College Station and seeing it firsthand at night, and then obviously getting the win down there, it makes it even better. But yeah, it's the setting in College Station with all that stuff. It's cool, but it's there's nothing like it, right? A&M, it's unique. I'll just keep saying unique. I have some other words to say, but we'll keep it classy for the A&M folks.
Dude, Trev, he's got to be shaking his head, doesn't he?
Right. It's like, what did I get myself into?
Welcome to Psychoville and Finkel's-Amer.
You're right. Well, it's just, it's funny when you think the situation that he had here, and then obviously leaving, and things weren't going quite the way he wanted it. But obviously, I think he's setting himself up for a bigger job of overseeing a committee of some sort of college football, and having a Big Ten and then SEC school on your resume. But it can't be any easier than it was in here. I think the money obviously at A&M, and just the fan base, and all, just the tradition, you want to call them tradition, just the things they got going on, man. It's unique, and it's something else. But I tell you what, that's his bed, and he's made it, and he's going to have to live in it, and see how long he can stay there and stay in that world, right, until he can get that bigger and better job. I
just, with him, and he's all about tradition. He loves college football, but it's just different. Don't get it. Not any background to it with the Yell leaders and all that stuff. So whatever. I am like you, cheering for Tennessee. So give me a grade. Give me a grade on Nebraska's recruiting efforts for 2024. In that grade, add 46 roster additions in 2 years for Nebraska between high school and portal.
Yeah, I think overall, if you kind of, I guess, Rule and staff is, they haven't even been here for, 2 years yet. But obviously coming in with this class and what they did, this past, if you want to call it, in the winter with the early signing class in December, and obviously, putting a bow on it in February, I'd probably give it a BB plus right now. I think if we're still including this year and it's coming up, I think obviously getting Raiola last year was a huge get. Identify, you had to get better at the QB spot. Solidify yourself long term. I like the kid that they got out of the grad transfer portal, just to kind of help them, because they're thin, they're young, and you need some more depth in kids with some experience that you can. I know he's coming from an NAIA school, but he's a little he's a little more. He has more age between the years, so that's gonna help in some sort of fashion. But overall, I love, we've gotten some commits here as of late, but I like where we're at with some of these bigger names. I mean, there's 5-star guys that are stepping on campus, and whether or not we get them, but the fact that they're coming and the right things are being said, and we don't have the wins, we don't have the conference titles, we don't have the national championships, we don't have the as of late, we don't have the college football playoff appearances as of late. So I think the message is that these recruits and these 4 and 5 stars are getting are the right message is being portrayed to them, and I think relationships are being built. I think kids, nowadays, and I think they just want to be told the truth, right? I think you can get caught up in making a bunch of promises and singing their praises. And I think there's some of that too, but I think, Nebraska is going to tell you how it is. And I think Coach Rule is very, very upfront in how he operates. It's not, there's zero gray area. It's very black and white. So I think kids can appreciate that now. And obviously you have the money involved, and our NIL situation is getting better. Still not to what Ohio State and Oregon's doing, but it's getting there. But overall, I think it's just the efforts there, and I think they've kind of developed their own method. I think summer recruiting is huge. Obviously, that wasn't an option in the past, but they've identified this because you can kind of just put your your eggs in one basket. Recruiting during the season, it's tough. You got a game plan. You got to do other things. You got to worry about your own players. And obviously you're going to recruit, but you just can't do it as much in the season. So I think they're recognizing this summer, it's like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to have all our camps as we had in the past. We're going to have all our try to get as many official visits as we can in the summer and try to get as many kids on campus, because we can kind of put forth so much more effort in and be in front of them, because we're not worrying about game plans. We're not worrying about dealing with players in class and just things like that, meetings and things like that. So overall, everything is been. I've been impressed and happy, and the effort has been there. And I think it's the grade could be better. Here by the end of the week, I imagine we'll probably get a couple more commits and really get this thing, really get the ball rolling heading into the fall season.
It's Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore, Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. A couple more minutes with Jay before we wind it down from Addy's. Reminder to get buckled up. Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Impaired driving is deceptively dangerous. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We'll have our picks coming up. More glorious commentary. Pretty funny stuff from the stream we'll get to.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Jay Moore's with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer. It's Hail Varsity Radio. And Jay, I think Rule's plan and evaluation are top tier. I think they aren't taking a backseat to anybody for the prospects they're going after. Right now, it's prove-it mode, isn't it, Bud? I mean, that's... And it's been an ongoing thing, so it's not just a Rule thing, but it's been an ongoing thing where what you got to do is perform on the field, and that's the last bit some in-state talent and some out-of-state talent are waiting for, and that's only fair. And this could be a breakthrough, a banner year. We all feel, I think it's going to be a move in a year in the right direction where, I don't know, at worst you're at 7, but maybe you catch lightning. I don't know. I haven't quite gotten to August or even July mode yet with prediction time, but no, I think Rule and his crew do a great job. It just really honestly comes down to some momentum in the early part of the season and then having a good year. And that's a simple way to put it for me.
Yeah, no, it is. I think I always kind of go back to the message, right? And I haven't heard the message, but I'm guessing like, hey guys, this thing's about to pop. We're really, really close. And if it does, and just with the schedule and Rule success in year 2, and just what's coming back, the strengths now of this football team are on the lines, or in years past, we're not able to say that. They're thin in some areas, and obviously at cornerback in the defense, but I understand that. But if we're going to be thin anywhere, give me a thin secondary and give me a strong defensive line and linebacker group, because you're going to win football games doing that. But things that gets going, recruiting catches more momentum, but this team actually gets going and really just gets some confidence. It's going to be fun to watch and fun to see, and they still got to prove it, right? They still got to go out there and do it. No team has. We're 7 years without a bowl game, so there's a lot of close calls and shucks, and I wish we would have, and we were close type of situations.
Few SOBs.
Yeah, right. So mentally, this team just, if they can get over the hump, like I said, just get some momentum, and they've been working hard. Like I don't discredit anything. Like the staff, this team, these kids are working hard. I've been to spring practices; they're working their tail off. They deserve some results, and I think they're really close. But if they can start, like I said, with the way the schedule finally lines up for this team, you can get off some good momentum and maybe get this ball rolling a little bit, and everything else just kind of starts to fall into place that we just haven't had, obviously, for a while now.
That's Blackshirt Jay Moore. Big Red wrap up, and at JMoore44 on Twitter. Jay Bird, enjoy your week, bud. We'll holler again next time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff. Real quick picks, Tennessee or A&M. Elijah, you going Oilers or you going Panthers?
I'm going Oilers in Game 7. Too much momentum. I think I'm going to say the same thing with the College World Series. I think I'm going to take Tennessee. Too much momentum following yesterday, but I wouldn't be surprised with an A&M win. If I was a betting man, I'd bet A&M.
Give me Rocky Top. Tennessee folks are awesome. Not that A&M folks aren't, but I've had great interactions with Tennessee people. Give me the Oilers, the most beautiful people in the NHL. Joba, who you got?
I'm taking the Oilers.
Okay. Tennessee or A&M?
And I'm taking A&M.
All right. Back at you tomorrow at 4. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Addies, for having us.